Firework season is upon us, and if you're a photographer, you might want to capture some of those fireworks and make some of those beautiful images. A couple years ago, I had one of my images published on the cover of a magazine. So here's how I did it. Step number one, or tip number one, use a tripod. Everything else, it depends on that. That's the most important tip that we have to keep it nice and steady. And second is to use a remote or a timer so that you're not making it jiggle when you, actually, I could turn that off. You're not making it jiggle when you hit the button. Now, of these, I prefer using a remote because the timer, I'll set it for a 2 second delay. And when you're kind of predicting where things are going to be or how things are going to look. So it's a little bit off, things kind of fade out during that 2 seconds, and it's kind of like, oh, darn, I missed it. So I prefer the timer, or I prefer the remote. And if you don't have a separate remote, take a look and see if you can use your cell phone as a remote. A lot of cameras nowadays, you can use your cell phone as a remote, and that's a really handy thing. Tip number three, use manual mode. You want to be able to set the ISO, the shutter speed, and the aperture all manually, so it's not, hunting around for the correct setting while the explosions are going on. Speaking of aperture, you want to use, tip number four, you want to use a medium aperture, something like f8, maybe 5.6, 6.3. So you get a fair amount of light coming in, but you also have a lot of stuff in focus. You want to use a shutter speed. Tip number, what are we on? 5. A shutter speed of medium length, say 1 to 5 seconds. If you use too long of of an exposure, you can get too many in there. It gets too busy and kind of overwrites it. But if that's what you're kind of looking for, to that big explosion type of look, maybe so. But play around with those kind of settings. And if they're shooting them more with a space, you want to use a longer exposure. If they're shooting them off pretty quick, boom, 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 use a slower shutter speed. Tip number 6, use a manual focus. You don't want your camera, hunting back and forth trying to find where that is. So you set the manual focus, and you might want to preset it before it gets dark, while you're sitting there waiting for the fireworks to start. If there's in my example, we have boats. The fireworks are over the lake, so you have boats, and I focus on those, or houses in the distance. But you want to pre-focus that if you can. Tip number 7, use a low ISO, maybe 100, maybe 200, something like that. You don't want to say, well, it's in the dark, so I'll use 1600 ISO. No, you want to use a lower ISO because the fireworks themselves are actually quite bright. Tip number 8, frame your shot. Try to decide what you want in the image, and maybe even pre-frame. Start thinking about this right after you get there, before it gets completely dark. Think about what you want to have in the image. Sometimes this is a little tough because you don't know exactly where those fireworks are going to be going off, but do the best you can. Tip number 9, review and adjust. Keep looking at the panel on the back of your camera. Look at the pictures. How are they coming out? Are they too bright? You have not enough fireworks in each one, too much? How does it look? And number 10, experiment. Take a look, start playing with things. Do really long exposures, really short exposures. Push it up to high ISO, 6400. See if you get other stuff in the background that's really interesting. And have fun, most of all.